OK, we're going to take a probing look at the front pages now. We're going to start with Thursday's Daily Mail, and Steve has got the deets.
We should mention at the top the what's inside this amazing story. I told my husband to choose between me and his bossy mother. He chose her. Yeah, but you said I told him, so he was choosing between two bossy outfits.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Very little difference between it. But the main headline: Starmer coughs up £6,000 to pay for his freebies.
Yes.
I saw that and I thought, well, that's solved that, isn't it? This story's going to go away. That's very much dealt with it. The thinking is they're trying to bring in some new rules about the way that this is all policed. And
yes.
you're saying you've got to clear the decks, got to make sure it's all sorted.
Yes.
I mean, true. Do you know what would have been more true is to think, I'm the guy standing on the platform of very much being against sleaze and corruption.
Yes.
Why don't I take no freebies for a while? I know freebies. We all like freebies.
Thank you, Captain Hindsight. But maybe at the time he was just too tempted by the Taylor Swift tickets. You can't, I mean, come on. Who would say no to that? You'd be mad.
I don't know. I didn't go and I survived.
You're all right, are you?
Yeah.
OK. But, Nick, you're a huge Taylor Swift fan. I mean, you must understand where Starmer was coming from.
Fan of the music, not the politics.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes. And in fact, the politics is so bad, I might even just throw the music in the metaphorical bin.
Separate the art from the artist?
On Spotify.
Shake it
I
off.
have to throw my actual phone.
Oh, I see.
I can to an extent, but there's a line, isn't there? P. Diddy might be the line.
Maybe.
Where is the line? Great question.
Let's have a look at Starmer because,
Yes.
Is it good enough?
Good point.
Well, I'm just saying because it is the story.
The story, yeah.
It is the story,
Totes.
and we have a job to do. Do you not think is it enough now at this point to just give back the money and say and pretend it never happened?
No, it's not enough, and it's amazing he didn't do it earlier, really, because it was so much pressure. And to be honest, I've never really minded gifts that much. It's the hypocrisy. I'm paraphrasing an Norma Dawn joke, but it is the hypocrisy that bothers me more because I think politicians are underpaid. So I don't actually mind gifts that much. But what I mind is, of course, his relentless going on about Tory cronyism and then just does this himself and then didn't see any problem with it. And I think also this shows they are worried about popularity because he's sort of been above the phrase time. It's like he doesn't care about when anyone says, like, I've got my majority, I don't care.
Yes.
But this shows they do care and they will buckle under pressure. And also, I think the way it's been covered reveals a kind of underlying hatred for this Labour Party. The media's kind of gone after him. There hasn't been this honeymoon period we had with Blair.
No.
And I think no one actually likes this government. It was just kind of waiting to get them.
Well, the polls are very bad even among traditional Labour voters. People really want him to stand down, don't they? Do you think that just on a PR level, the fact that it was Taylor Swift is going to save him? If it had been Ed Sheeran, might this be a bit more unforgivable?
Yeah, he'd have been gone by now.
Exactly.
Right? If it
That's
weren't for
what
the
I
Taylor
think.
Swift effect. Yeah, unbelievable. And the idea of the box at whichever football. I'm not into football, but I can I know what people who like football are like. Is it Arsenal? Yeah. I've seen football people. No wonder. Of course, he'd bite someone's hand off at some free football.
Because he wants the box, rather. Because if you don't have the box, you have to stand in, what are they called?
The
rows, the stands.
Yes.
Or the
but he could have
terraces.
just paid for the box, anticipating this. If he really thought he was going to win.
Yes.
Also, he's quite a high-profile figure anyway. Why not just pay for a box ahead of time?
Yeah, no, OK, well, some thoughts there. So we're going to begin this section with Thursday's Guardian. Kemi Badenoch would like to see prisons even more crowded, Steve.
Yep, some civil servants so bad they should be in prison.
Gosh.
Says Kemi. Well, Kemi, technically civil servants include people who work in prison, so they are. It's not the strongest takedown I've ever done on this show. I brought some weak
You
sauce,
need more trash talk
I Googled
in your armoury.
So at the Tory party conference, one of those fringe events, she said that some of them leak secrets and undermine ministers. And we all know that that is the job of other ministers.
Yes.
You don't like them getting involved. Now, people will always say, even on shows like this, it's the blob, innit? Oh, we know what the blob's like. But the General Secretary of the FDA Union, Dave Penman, says this. I'm going to read the quote. I think it's great. These are serious accusations from a former Secretary of State. If she has evidence to back up those claims, she should publish it, otherwise withdraw the statement. There's nothing wrong in that sentence. That's absolutely bang on.
That seems fair
enough. And if it's true that, we all know what the blob's like, she must be swimming in evidence, so bring it. Or maybe we start thinking about how much of a convenient thing it is to blame the civil servants.
Two things, though, Steve. I mean, for one thing, Dave Penman, this guy who said this, he may regret that, because I imagine she does actually have quite a lot of evidence of this sort of stuff. And I also imagine it's not the sort of thing she would have said without having some basis for it. I mean, I know that Kemi Badenoch has talked before about being obstructed by civil servants in quite an ideological way, and she definitely has evidence for that. But the other thing is this. Was she not joking a little bit? I mean, the quote here says, there's about 5 to 10% of them who are very, very bad. Should be in prison bad. Sounds a bit like a quip. Is that not... Am I misreading that, Nick?
No, I think that's reasonable. I didn't actually see this part. I have watched a lot of the conference. You're at the conference, maybe she was on stage, maybe you're making a joke. It's exaggeration. It's like that guy who said, I'm not saying it's exactly the same, when he said Diane Abbott should be shot or something. It's not literal. This doesn't seem literal to me. She's just saying that they're awful. I was surprised it was as low as 10%, frankly, given what the blob's like.
Yeah, the blob.
And this is the kind of thing... This is pure Kemi. So this is the bluntness that I like from her, which is one of her selling points. She's an engineer, she keeps saying, she just tells it like it is.
Yes.
But also it makes things politically difficult for her because now she's going to have to, if she wins, or even if she doesn't win, she has to continue working with these people.
Yes.
And now they all hate her even more.
Well, let me just ask you, Steve, a bit further about the blob. I mean, the point is, though, that there is quite a lot of evidence of, and there have been a number of whistleblowers from the civil service who say that it is ideologically captured, that a significant proportion of the civil service don't implement the job they're meant to. They don't implement what the ministers tell them to for partisan reasons.
So
there is a problem.
And it's a problem. It's their problem. If you're in charge of this, get it fixed in the 14 years that you just had or something. The interview that I heard Liz Truss do, it really informed... Well, because she's been speaking for ages about how the blob part of the thing, this conspiracy against her. And when she was pushed on it, the only example she could come up with is they drag their heels in implementing things.
No, there's a lot more in the articles I've read from whistleblowers.
Well, she was only there for 49 days.
Oh, yeah, to be fair.
Listen to Stephen Edgington's pieces on them saying that Farage should be assaulted and things like that. These are beliefs that go around in the civil service. When you say 14 years to fix it, not that simple. As people like Dominic Cummings have pointed out, it's very hard to actually sack a lot of these people. You don't have the power to sack them. Is
it, Nick? I mean, because I often think, they always talk about the bonfire of the Quangos and they never actually light the fuse. I think just blow the whole thing up.
Yeah, Cummings has said, he said something like a minister can only sack 3 people or something. There's all these, rules with Byzantine complexity in terms of actually getting rid of...
Really?
No, it's not so easy. You can just go in and clear them out, or it would have been done by now.
Yeah, maybe. OK, we're going to move on now to a bombshell in the Express. Steve, you got this?
Number of Tory members wanting merger with Farage's Reform revealed in bombshell poll.
We can't use that word enough, can we, really?
My favourite kind of poll.
It makes every headline sound more exciting, doesn't it?
Because this is a survey of 470 people.
Yes.
That's less exciting than bombshell poll.
Yes.
More than half, 53% of those 470 people, of Conservative members, want the party to merge. I mean, I'm not sure why, because most Reform MPs say no. All the people running to be Tory leaders say no. They would hate each other so much, people like Abbott and Costello. But this was a survey for the Liz Truss right-wing popular conservatism group. Oh, so now she'll listen to the opinions of other people. But, I mean, look, I'm not sure it would be the wisest of moves in terms of general election. Yeah, you'd get all the Reform votes back, but you would be risking the big lump of people in the centre ground who wouldn't vote for you. If you're trying to win a general election and appeal to the nation, that's one thing. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage says he doesn't want to merge with the Tories, and this is a man who said he wouldn't stand in the election and is now the MP for Clacton. So he's a man of his word, is what I'm saying.
And your esteemed colleague you left out. Go on.
Nick, I mean, you predicted that Farage would be leader of the Tory party. They call you a Nostradixus.
Yeah.
Don't they? Or Dixonus.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't really work, does it? Listen, I think that you had a point, and maybe this is edging towards your worldview.
Yeah, I said in 2029 it will happen, and it looked impossible, but maybe it could happen, though Farage does deny it, as Steve just said. Something's got to happen because we're going to get Labour again. So
are we?
A strategic... Yeah, well, everyone hates Labour, but unless you do something... The next election, I believe, is going to be very strategic. Look at all those independent candidates that popped up and basically said, I hate Israel, and almost won. So it's going to be about strategic... It's going to be about strategy seat by seat, which is how Labour did so well. Partly there was these unofficial sort of alliances and so on. I think Reform and Tories have to do that because people wanted the Tories to be destroyed, some people, 0 seats, etc. Given that didn't happen, I don't think it's going to happen, and given that neither of them is going to back down, the only way to avoid Labour winning again is to be strategic and do something like that, in my opinion, unless they sort it out by then. But it's interesting, at the conference, Kemi said that Reform are not a serious party. She said she's looked at their manifesto. She doesn't think they're serious. She said that she respects the voters because they are Tory people and that she's on the doorstep, but that she thinks the party are not serious. She thinks they're too pro-state intervention. And a kind of difference emerged in that conference. Every Tory was talking about small state and Thatcherism, and Reform, even though Farage is seen as a kind of Thatcherite, now start to seem more like sort of they're prepared to do more state intervention, maybe part of the sort of more of the NatCon kind of right. So that a distinction starts to emerge.
Something probably does have to happen, doesn't it? But, I mean, I just wonder whether it is... I mean, the Starmer's numbers are tanking. You know, and as you say, Nick, everyone wanted to punish the Tories last time. And so is it just the case that we're going to have these massive swings from one massive majority to the other massive majority until eventually, in about 20 years' time, people will realise both parties are a waste of time and they'll all vote for the SDP and we'll live happily ever after?
If you want to cash in on that, though, you have to be stood ready to catch those centre-ground voters who are going to be like, I'm appalled by the Tay-Tay tickets. If you want to get those, there's no point moving further to the right and then not being able to catch those voters when they become available.
It doesn't work. This tacking to the centre thing, it just doesn't work.
Well, it worked for Labour.
For the Tories, it hasn't worked. If you look at it, Jacob Rees-Mogg was very good on this. He went through historically and pointed out it hasn't worked. Actually, conviction politicians, more like Thatcher, have actually done better, so I don't believe in...
So you need Tories to go to the right?
Correct.
OK, we'll see what happens. We're going to move on now. Is the Telegraph next? Durham Students' Union tries to stop free speech and open debate getting in the way of university life.
Yeah, free speech row Durham University after debating society blocked from campus events. This is Freshers' Week.
Yes.
And you think they would be able to put together an argument to win that one. It's if you can't win that argument, why should you be there? But the Durham Union Society, a 182-year-old debating society, barred from taking part in the intake, trying to recruit.
As in the Freshers' Fair,
yeah. The Free Speech Union claims that it's because the debating society isn't left-wing enough. The organisers of Freshers' Week, Durham Student Union, say it's because they haven't met DEI criteria.
What does that mean?
Well, I think it's that they're agreeing. They seem to be falling out, but they both seem to be saying they're not left-wing enough.
So is that what it is, Nick? It can't be that, can it?
Well, it's more nuanced. I mean, they wanted them to improve their track record or show that they were making progress.
On what?
On equality, diversity and inclusion. But of course, that in itself is an ideological statement.
Yeah.
The claim here that Toby Young is making in the Free Speech Union is that actually you could see from their website that they just didn't like this society. They sort of were mocking them and calling them tuxedo-clad provocateurs. And
is this because they invite right-wing people onto campus?
That's what it seemed like. But my claim is that even on their own premise, that they hadn't done enough to improve DEI, that in itself is an overtly ideological premise that should be rejected anyway. Because why should they adhere to that if they're a free speech organisation?
Isn't one of the principles that is related to DEI, the woke movement, is no debate? So I guess by even having a debating society, you're violating some of their principles.
Yeah, it very much seems like for some people the concept of debate seems right-wing.
Yes.
Which means...
because they're winning.
Yeah,
because the left are winning.
Well,
so they don't want any debate.
I mean, I always say you can't win an argument if you refuse to have it. So actually, they're not winning, but they're not losing.
If you've already won, then it's like, I'm just going to take my ball and not play because we've already won.
It's like if you don't turn up to the battlefield, you can say, well, I would have won that.
Yeah,
if I didn't
lose it.
Well, yeah.